Any guesses? All right, let me point it back to a different way. Here's what I want to do. I have month as a particular column. I want to make sure that for one value of month throughout our data set, for one value of month, I need to add sales and get to know what is the sum of it. So all I need to do is let's get back to our Pokemon data set. Fortunately or unfortunately, that we learned, we just have to group by month. After grouping by month, we can get to know what is the sum of sales. Exact same thing that we have done. Also, yeah, welcome Jenny to the session. So yeah, exact same thing that we did earlier. Let's just do the same. We have a column called month. So let's group by this sales data frame dot group by of month. Now, as we remember, group by always gives a group by object. Once you have grouped by month, you can perform operation on other columns accordingly. The column I want to perform operation on is called total cost. I have grouped by month. For each month, I want to know what is the sum of total costs. So once we have grouped by it, I'll take total cost. And for this particular column, I'll calculate sum. That's it. When you do this, you get to see for each month what is the sum, total sum of sales performed. This is what we have. Now, I cannot give this to the client. Let's face it. If it's 12 months, to an extent, this is somewhat fine. But data is always best read and understood when we look at it from the perspective of a graph to understand it better. So we're going to walk through this data and look at it from a graph rather than, or from a chart rather than just data. And there's a new package that I want to introduce here, a couple of new packages rather, that is matplotlib and Seaborn. I will particularly use Seaborn. However, it's vital that we know both of these whenever you work on data visualization because both of these packages are quite good in their own ways. So I'm just going to walk through them. Right, I'm just going to share their example page. This will help you implement any kind of graph or chart you want at any point of time. Just by looking at it, you can click on it and you can get the code. If you just want a simple bar chart, just click on this. You'll get the code along with it, which you can implement. This is how easy it is. This is basically how easy it is. So any chart you want to work on, you can just click on any one of these and implement it. And let's remember, each chart has its own purpose. You will use something like, let's say, um, a heat map for some particular purpose. You'll use a scatter plot for some purpose. There are a lot of different graphs that you'll use, or contour maps for different purposes. There are a lot of different graphs you use to, or box and whisker charts, or whatever it could be. You'll use a lot of different um, charts for different purposes to identify and visually specify different purposes. Um, the plot that we're going to use is a simple bar plot. Let me just search for it. Okay, I don't think I can directly search for it. Um, yeah, it should be here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Here it is, bar plot. So this is the one that we're going to implement. Just a simple bar plot so that we can see what is the sales of different months. And the moment you get to see this, you see that there are a lot of things that are here. The moment you see it, it looks complicated, but don't worry. It's really, really easy to work on. It's way too easy to use. We can do this in one line without worrying about the rest. So for this, I'm going to use Seaborn personally, but it's up to you. You can use Seaborn, you can use Matplotlib. That is totally your choice. So for that, first, let me install them. Again, these are additional packages, so you'll need to install it. I'll just use pip install Seaborn. And as a common theme, we import Seaborn as SNS in short. That's a common theme we always follow. So I'm just going to do the same as well. So once we do that, I'll just perform, just remove, clear the cell. There we go. Import Seaborn as SNS. Now, here's our data. Here's our response, right? This is what we have. Let me store this data as monthly sales. So we have monthly sales saved. Monthly sales is a series, just for our reference. This monthly sales as a series has an index. The index is the month, and the value is the amount of sales done in that month. So for identifying this in a graph, let's import Seaborn. And after importing Seaborn, I'm just going to do a bar plot. The most important line here is how to do a bar plot using Seaborn. That is here. This is the important thing. SNS.barplot. That's all we need. The rest, we'll think of it later. So I'm just going to use SNS.barplot of x comma y values. X value is monthly sales index, y value is monthly sale values. Please remember, just for reference, monthly sales in our case is a series. Since it's a series, we have index 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 12. For each index, you have the sales as its value. So if you access index, you'll get month. If you access values, you'll get the sales values, whatever is the exact number. So I'm just going to use monthly sales dot index as the x-axis, and let me just specify to make sure that none of us are confused. X-axis will be this, and then y-axis will be monthly sales dot values. So once you do this, it should give you this particular bar plot. However, if you feel this bar plot is not um, good enough to just show or express over to a client, the moment you view it and work on it, there are some slight beautifications you can do, specific things that you have to do. That is for this SNS bar plot, whatever bar plot you create, for that particular bar plot, you need to have some x-axis label and a y-axis label. Without a label, people won't get to know what is where. As simple as it sounds, what is where? That's one thing we need to know. So you can set up labels for x-axis and y-axis. You can set up different themes to show them in different colors and so on. There are a lot of things that you can actually do. There are so many things that you can actually work on. So that's just one thing that, okay, and they also say you should not use this in the future palette. You should instead use hue and pass a variable to it. That's fine. That's something in the future. They're yet to update it, but yeah, you can make a lot of these things like happen in a nice way to observe and let's say work around. So you can see the highest number of sales are done in December, which makes sense because Christmas, a lot of people buy gifts. That's what the sales company expects as well. And the least sales are done in January, but a very close tie to it in September as well. So the company can, you can specifically ask the company by telling them that we have walked through your sales, we have walked through them, and this is what we see. We see that um, a lot of sales are done, particularly in December, but the least sales are in January, and that's where you can, let's say, put some attractive discounts or focus on it to sell the products that might be uh, off the shelf soon or something like that. Yeah, just again, just a few points that we wanted to see here to begin with. Now, with this clear, we just performed our first simple operation and we were able to get a response to begin with. Now, if this is clear, we can move on to the next part. If there are any queries, any questions still here, please let me know. Please ask the queries. We can take up your queries and then we move ahead. So I'll just wait for a minute. Meanwhile, I will share this exact document right away so that you have access to it as well. Okay, it's all in a single interactive Python notebook. So I'm just going to share that. It's just going to replace the existing version of it. Oh, yeah. Prior to that, to make sure that we don't get confused, I'll just delete the previous version as well. There we go. Done. Right, now we can move ahead from here. So yeah, prior to this, please take a minute or two if required. If there are any questions on this that you might need to ask on any part of this, please let's walk through it. I'll answer your queries and then we'll move ahead to the next part. If there are no queries, we'll move ahead right away and start taking a look at a couple of other questions maybe, and then get to database connectivity, which is something we want to learn and we will learn up next. Right, so no specific queries. All right. So yeah, moving ahead, there's one more query that I want to try before, at least one more query that I want to try before we go ahead. There is what time of the day uh, should should the client display advertisements for maximum purchases? That is, we want to ask what time do people purchase, or at what time do people purchase the highest during the entire day, from midnight till 11:59 p.m. We need to figure out in which minute do people perform the highest purchases. This will let us know so that the organization can put up an advertisement, let's say for instance, offer within the next 5 minutes, purchase it. So, or offer within the next 30 minutes, purchase it. So that any potential customer who's looking at this advertisement, and since it is the time where most purchases are made, the company wants to try to see if, given this advertisement, the person would, or a customer, potential customer, would be willing to purchase that product then and there over the web. This is a fairly fun question that we can try. Since we have already taken our data set and we have cleaned it, and now we're performing this, it should not be it should not take too much time for us to do this. It should take quite a short time. So let me know if you'd like to walk through this question. We can try it out. Because this will have a different kind of graph to show as well, that we can view, and a couple of different operations, because we need to perform date time operations on this, because what time, right? So we'll see how to work around that. So would you like to go through this question? After this question, we'll wind this up and we'll go for database connectivity. So any response would be very helpful if you would like to go through solving this particular question. All right, yes.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
perfect. Thanks a lot for letting me know that. So we can go ahead and try this out. Right. So let's help this organization perform this. Now, we get to see this particular order date, and we need to know hour and minute both. They want to know what time of the day should they display advertisements for the best response. That's what they want to know. For our easier understanding, to begin with, at least to begin with, let's look at it on a hourly basis. So I want to know in which hour is the sales highest? That's what I want to know. Simple question. Which hour has the highest sales? Also, instead of hour, if you want to know, if you want to go in detail, you can go in detail with respect to which minutes as well, but that'll be too difficult because let's face it, it's not easy for an advertisement to go exactly in a minute. They give hourly slots for advertisements in television or whatever it is, so that advertisements can happen within a particular hour. So we need to perform this on an hourly basis. So let's do that. Now, to get the hour, we need this particular data, this particular value. This is the hour data we want. We have already learned how to take away the month data from it. If you remember, we took the month specifically by converting the sales data frames date part to a date and extracting only the month out of it. Instead of extracting the month out of it, now you need to take the same thing to a date and extract hour out of it. And we'll call this, and there's a new variable called hour. Once done, let's print this particular data frame. Oh, I'm so sorry. Again, one minor mistake. It's sales tier, right? So you got a new column called hover, which is having all these particular values. Now that we have all these values, we can move ahead to the next part. So we have the 0 to 23 hours. So 00 all the way up to 23 hours is what we'll have. So it seems we've got it right so far. Now, since we have this data, the next thing, again, pretty simple. We need to group by hour and calculate what is the sales done per hour. Same thing as what we've done before. Just simple aggregation function. Let's group by hour and calculate total cost for that hour. So I'm just going to take sales data frame dot group by, and you group by hour particularly. Once you do this, okay, I'm so sorry, it's the hour with uppercase H. Yeah, one minor mistake. You'll get the group by object. In this group by object, you need to then take total cost, and that total cost, you need to take sum of it. Let's do that. And this is what you get. From hour 0 to hour 23, these are the total sales that happen. Now, to make sure I get to know which hour has the highest sales, this particular value, I'm going to sort it. Again, we have looked at this function earlier today. We have seen how this exact function works in 4 different lines, and then we have combined this back to a single line. If you remember, group by object is created in which you can access other columns. You can perform aggregate function on it. It'll give you a series. In that series, you can perform sorting, and we're just sorting as ascending equals false. Once we do this, we get to see 7 p.m. is apparently the time where highest amount of sales are done. Probably that's when people come back from work and have a few minutes to look at something, watch TV or something. And 12 p.m., I'm assuming it's because it's lunch time, possibly, is the next highest sales. Then it is 11. Different values that we have here, and we're going to use this to figure out which is the best time to sell. Again, we're going to do the exact same thing. Let's create um, a bar plot. Now, let's start with this. Let's take SNS dot bar plot of x equals. Okay, we need to store this somewhere first. Let's store this as hourly sales. Now that we have stored this in hourly sales, x-axis will be hourly sales dot index. That's going to be the hour, and y-axis will be hourly sales dot values. Done. However, this will not tell you what it means. This will not tell you exactly immediately what it means and how it works. So to understand this better, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a very minor change in this. Instead of printing it, I'm going to store this in a variable called access, AX in short. Once I've stored this variable, once I've stored it in a variable, the next thing is to make sure that we add labels to this. We add custom labels to this particular variable. So let's add custom labels to this particular um, graph. To do that, let's start with the first simple thing. Again, to add, this is why I wanted to point out that you need matplotlib as well along with Seaborn, if you remember. So I'm going to perform pip install matplotlib. it's very rare that we install matplotlib. So I believe it is matplotlib directly, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it is. Perfect, it is. But when you import matplotlib, you need to perform some very specific operations. So if you're gonna import Seaborn, we just import Seaborn as SNS. But if you wanna import matplotlib, you need to use import not matplotlib, but matplotlib.pyplot, Python plot, particularly in it, as something like PLT in short. This is a common thing that we do. We import Seaborn as this, we import matplotlib as this. Now, since we want to access, or since we want to add some labels to X and Y axis within this, let's see how we do that. I'm just going to write here plt dot X label and plt dot Y label. So in plot, you have X label and Y label. X label, I'll just write hour of the day. Y label, I'll just write sales in um, millions. All right, there we go. After you do that, you just need to show the plot. I'll just write plt.show. Now, here's the catch. Here's the simple thing. One thing that we need to know so far is that when you do this, you get to see hour of the day on x-axis, sales in million US dollars in y-axis. That's because when you create a plot, um, when you create a bar plot, let's say to begin with this, any bar plot to begin with this bar plot or any plot in Seaborn, it automatically makes sure that you can access matplotlib with it as well. So in matplotlib, if you add an X label, it'll add to it. If you add a Y label, it'll add to it, and you can show. So this is how you can get to show which hover has the highest sales. Now, let's move on to the next part of this. In Seaborn, another thing that we saw here, uh, palette, particularly when we saw custom palettes like deep and so on. These are built-in palette names that you can use for your own visualization. If you want, you can create your own palette with custom colors as well. We don't usually do that. But yeah, in short, you can use any palettes at all if you want, particularly like we've seen here. And yeah, this is where I'll stop this. And you can perform some simple analysis, simple sort of operations on data like this. So this is where we're stopping Pandas and Matplotlib and Seaborn for now. Again, I'm not going in depth within Matplotlib and Seaborn. I'm not going through each and every kind of graph you go through, each and every kind of operation you have in Pandas. We're just learning enough so that you can utilize this over time. You can work on this over time. And this can be something which you can use for various purposes ahead in time as well. Now, let's move ahead. So if there are any queries or questions still here, I'll just take a minute. Please let me know. If not, we'll move away from data analysis over to something else very quickly. All right. So no queries particularly. So yeah, let's go ahead in that case. Now, another thing that has been specified in the things for us to walk through by Hanover is Parquet files. So I just want to walk through that and just show you what they are. Parquet is a format of file that is again similar to, let's say, an Excel file, similar to that. It's a column-oriented data file format where you can store data. So this is something that you can uh, access and use in a lot of different kind of ways. So I'm just going to walk through this in short so we can get to know how to read this in Pandas. Now, first thing, why do we need Parquet files? when we have, let's say, Excel files, CSV files, and all these. Why do we exactly need Parquet files? Now, think about this. Parquet files store data in a column format. So I'll just show you this. Yeah, there we go. Exactly what we see in every other data. It stores data in this columnar format. The way or the purpose of columnar format here is that you can access any particular column and you can access the data of that column right then and there. It's very easy to read them and perform analytics on them. That's one of the main reasons. Second main reason why a lot of us choose Parquet for large data is that Parquet files provide a lot of compression. I don't know if they have provided directly a link about it, but yeah, about Spark and Hadoop is something important that I'll point out. But Parquet files support compression. You can compress your data and store within Parquet. And the most important reason why we use this is that Parquet is a format that can be used with Apache Spark, Hadoop, Impala, all of these. Again, just so you know, there are certain frameworks available in computer science which can divide tasks so that these tasks will be done in multiple computers simultaneously instead of one computer. One of the best examples I can give you on this is Databricks. If you take a look at Databricks, that is databricks.com. I'm just gonna share this. If you want to take a look at this link and download this, perhaps if you are interested in learning more about it. But I'm gonna go to Databricks webpage, and you see Databricks helps speed up some things with data lakes or lakehouse, whatever you want to call them. So the whole idea here is that you can have large amount of data available. When you have very large amount of data available, you can use multiple computers to take advantage of it. Like for instance, you can just let's say purchase temporarily multiple hardwares, and if you have a very large data set to be processed, you can divide this into these multiple systems, one third at a time, have them perform it parallelly, and then obtain the response back and combine them. This is often used with Hadoop and Databricks, which works on top of Hadoop system and so on. Parquet files are very easy to work on top of Hadoop. That's another main reason why people use it for this purpose, specifically for this purpose. So if you really want to know more about this, there's some really good videos on their own website, which they have used in this yearly summit of Apache Spark and all these things that they come up with. So you can take a look at that ahead in time if you would like to. But what I want to do is just take a sample Parquet file, and we're going to take these, let's say, some sample Parquet files with some data like this, and I just want to show you how to read them, because after reading them, the rest of the operations is pretty simple. We don't have to worry about the rest of it. We just need to know how to read them. So I'm just going to take one very small and simple file that I'm just going to share this link here. You can just click on the download button over here or view raw button over here. It should download your Parquet file. So I'm just going to take this file and just going to paste this in our pandas directory here. So I just need you to have this Parquet file with you so that we can read this to begin with. That's all I need you to have. Once you have this, we can take a look at understanding and learning how to read Parquet files. Let me know if you're able to download it for now. We can go ahead with the next step right away. Right. So hopefully you have access to this, which means we can go ahead. Right. So yeah, let's go ahead. Now, moving along, I've just introduced you to Pandas to begin with, but just know Pandas is not the only package to perform a lot of these things. You have